So this is for Saxon 5, lesson 71. What we're looking at today is the correlation between fractions, decimals, and percents. So for example, if you have the fraction 1/10, well, 1/10 written as a decimal is nice and simple. It's 1/10. 1/10 written as a percentage is 10%. Now I get this percentage by taking 100, because all percentages are out of 100. I take 100 and I divide it by my denominator, which is 10. And that divided would give me 10, which gives me 10%. Now this is 1/10. If I had more than that, let's say I had 2/10, that would then give me 2/10 and 20%. So the division only gives you one of that number. To get more, if your numerator is higher than 1, you then have to add that to itself to get what your answer will be. But to get the percentage in the first place for 1/10, I just take 100 and I divide it by my denominator, which is 10. Now that will work for all percentages as long as you have that fraction. So if we go through, half is 0.5 as a decimal and 50% as a percentage, because if I took 100 and divided it by 2, I would get 50, or 50%. Next is a quarter, is 0.25, which is 25%. Again, if I took 100 divided by 4, I would get 25. If I have a fifth, it would be 0.2 or 2/10, and it would get me 20%. And we've already done tenths, which is a tenth, which is 10%. Now, these are all the nice, easy ones you'll be working with over this lesson and through Saxon 5 for the most part. There are a couple more tricky ones that I'll go over in a minute, but I really wanted to show you, just before we move on, how I get from a percentage to a decimal, because I've shown you how to get from a fraction to a percentage, where I take 100 and I divide it by whatever the denominator is. But I want to show you how I get this way as well. So if I have a percentage, let's say 20%, and I want to turn it into a decimal, what I'm actually doing is, remember I said whatever this percentage is a number over 100. That's what percentage is it's something out of 100. So what I want to do is, I actually want to do exactly what this says right now. I want to divide 25 by 100. How I do that is I take the decimal, which is over here, and I move it 2 times to the left because we're dividing, so 1, 2, and it comes there. And I now have 25 hundredths. That gives me my decimal number, and that will work for most, if not all, of your percentages to decimals, is you're just dividing the percentage by 100. So you're just moving that decimal over 2 spaces. Okay, your tricky ones that you are going to look at are these. So your tricky ones are 1/8 is 125 thousandths, which is 12.5%. Now I've written it with a fraction. You can also write it 12.5%, depending on how you would like to do it. The one after that is 1/3. 1/3 is 3 continued. So what 3 continued means is 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and I just keep going. That's what continued means. So instead of writing all of that each and every time, I put this little line above it, which is just continued. So 3/10 continued, which is 33.33%. Okay, so this is how you would write the 2 tricky ones. This is how you would write the easier ones. But the premise is all still the same. You'd take 100 and divide it by 8. You take 100 divided by 3. You would get your percentages, and then you take these percentages and you divide them by 100 to get your decimals. This is our lesson 71. This is the correlation between fractions, decimals, and percentages.